Yeah, everybody, this is Ken from Neon Goldfish. Back in the early 90s, the World Wide Web became available and began morphing into this staple that we now have in our everyday lives. This very complex system now reaches nearly all areas of the globe, providing a sea of info to just about anyone with access. So today, Justin and I, we're going to discuss the most basic component of this sea of information. We're talking about an individual piece of content. Content is the building blocks of the internet. There's a staggering amount of content available, and there's a staggering amount of content that's being created and published on the internet each and every day. Just creating content alone is the bare minimum of being part of this game for businesses. To win this game, you must create remarkable content. In this episode, we're going to cover why should businesses create content, why the content they create needs to be remarkable, what exactly remarkable content is, and how you can go about creating this remarkable content. We're confident our conversation will get you excited about the opportunities content creation can present for your business. Enjoy.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Neon Noise Podcast. We are going to be discussing content today. Content, it really is everywhere we look. It's the building blocks of the internet, which is such a big part of our everyday lives. And, we're not just really talking about the text on your website. It's so much more than that now. Many of us are forgetting about content like resource guides, images, videos, animations, white papers, stuff along these lines. It provides so much more value to your website visitors. These are the items that are also going to make you stand out from the rest of the crowd and not blend in. So today, I think what we should do, Ken, let's dive into the importance of creating content. I'm not just talking about any content. We're going to focus on creating content that's remarkable, content that's valuable, that's going to speak to your website visitors. So why don't we dive into why businesses need to create content in the first place? Let's just start there.
Sure, that's a great starting point. Question we often kind of get faced with is, how much content do I need to create for my website? Should I be creating content for my website? Right. The answer is yes, you should be. Yep. What type of content? You just covered many of the different types or forms of content that we can create. So let's cover some reasons why. I think the first reason is just engaging with people, those people being your audiences. The target people or the buyers that you're going after, your buyer personas. We want to get them engaged into getting them excited into what it is you're selling. What's products and services are you offering that satisfies the challenges, the pains they have, or will help them achieve their goals, right?
Correct.
And doing so, this content, it could be in the form of, let's say, a blog post. And this blog post could be an educational piece that brings to light some very high level, early in the game tips.
Maybe somebody that's tricks. Not ready to buy today or something along those lines, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Okay. This is someone that's just starting out. Okay. They're just starting. Or they see that ebook offer a guide on how to navigate the waters of buying your particular product and service. It's not a sales pitch. It's not you're on the phone with them. It's a guide, and you are engaging with them. They're finding what you have to be valuable, and you exchange that for they exchange that for an email address or some type of contact information, and that's how we begin the nurturing campaigns we talk quite a bit about. That kind of slides into the second point, which is to educate. So we want to engage. We want to provide content that our buyer personas are going to find engaging, valuable. But then we want to further, that content's got to be darn good.
It has to be good. It's not like it used to be when you could throw content up there and not touch it for 2 or 3 years until you decided to redo your site again, right?
Sure. No, we'll get to that point here in a second. But yeah, there is a definite shift in the old landscape when it comes to content. And not only is it, stagnant content, but the content's got to be very good, very educational. And that's the point I'm trying to make is it needs to be educational. It needs to help the buyer persona, your target buyer, along their journey in helping them learn more about what it is that they're what you're selling, the process they go through, how it's going to help them achieve their goals and satisfy the challenges or pains. The educational component there is going to help you as a brand build credibility with that particular buyer, which is super important.
Good points. What about for search engines?
Yeah, so search engines is probably my favorite because it's a question we get so often. How do I rank better on the search engines? How do I show up on page one? And you had referenced earlier that content is the building blocks of the internet, and it is. And that's what the search engines are looking for. They crawl and index and serve up
that's how they get
portions
you on the
or
goose,
chunks
right?
To get on the goose. Chunks of content. Most of the time with the search, you're talking about text content in the form of blog posts and web pages.
Yeah.
And without creating this particular content, you have no skin in the game. You
right.
don't have the components needed. And furthermore, the more content, and I'll elaborate on this in just a quick second. The more content you have, the better your chances are, so long as that content's quality, because the quality factor is really starting to become a big component. Mm-hmm. The search signals, the search engine algorithms are starting to recognize how engaged your site visitors are with the content.
If they're sticking around, if they're looking at anything, stuff along those lines, right?
Absolutely. And how long they're staying on, if they're diving deeper into secondary pages, or if they're hitting your website and saying,
bye-bye.
Not impressed,
not interested.
See you later.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to hurt you a little bit. So not to pressure you, scare you away from creating content unless it can be blockbuster, but you do need, it does need to be valuable. And so we're not talking about just slapping some content on a post and pressing the publish button. And you shouldn't, I think where you see this is a lot of times you find content being created for the search engines and not for the buyer personas. Exactly. And that's the exact opposite way you should go about doing it. If you create content with your buyer personas in mind, being mindful of the keywords they're using, answering the questions they're asking,
they're going to find your copy.
By default, you're exactly right. By default, you're going to show up well in the search engines.
Yeah.
You might not hit your favorite keyword, but I promise you this much. Your favorite keyword probably isn't the best
getting
one
searched
anyway.
anyhow. Right?
Exactly. So make sure that you're in the mind or put yourself in the shoes of your buyer persona and really understand where they're coming from. Create good copy from that, good content from that perspective, and you will show up well in the search engines.
Great points. What about remaining competitive?
Yes. To remain competitive, you got to think about this. If you made mention earlier that it's the days of creating a bunch of content and letting it sit stagnant for a couple of years on end are gone.
Happens a lot. I think it does.
It still doesn't. And what's going on is there's more and more players in the game.
Sure.
More and more web copies being created, blog posts are being published. So much is flooding the market or the internet that if you don't participate, you will lose just by correct. And your competitors are going to beat you out. Now, I'm talking from the standpoint of the search engines. Now let's talk about the standpoint from a couple of the other previous points that I just discussed, engagement with your buyer personas. If your competitors are engaging with them, providing them educational pieces,
and you're not,
then when let's say they do find their way to your website, you're not a resource to them during the entire buyer's journey.
Exactly.
So that credibility I spoke of earlier doesn't lie with you. Yeah. It instead lies with your competitor. If you don't do anything else, look at your competition. Make sure you're at least holding the candle to what they're doing.
Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
And then the last point I have on why a business should create content is simply to stay on top of your game. We all know our craft very well.
But it changes so often.
You're right. It does change very often. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. I think technology or technological advances has catapulted and accelerated the quickness and frequency of change in all industries.
Yeah.
While the fundamentals stay pretty much the same, we're looking at a time when a lot, that background change is going on. And while you might be able to keep up with it, creating content, even if you are the know-it-all, which most people won't consider themselves the absolute know-it-all, you're going to do some research when you're creating this content. You're going to try to find new things that are the latest and greatest to talk about, to engage your audience with. And in that, you're going to learn more and understand and become even more of an expert.
Yeah.
And you'll stay on top of your game so that added knowledge, it's almost like, those continuing education classes that all my teacher friends look so forward to going and taking. None of them are happy about it.
They're not happy about it, but they know exactly what's going on in their industry. So
absolutely. It keeps
it's doing its job.
So think about this as a voluntary continuing education avenue, right? Where you don't have
not such a bad thing.
Sit at a crappy conference and pay for a hotel room with steel smelling bed sheets, right?
Awesome.
Yes.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah. I know.
Sign up for a conference this weekend, right?
I can make anything sound appealing, can't I?
Yeah.
So, all right. So we just covered why businesses should be creating content, but let's dive a little bit into why does that content, why does it need to be remarkable? We mentioned earlier that just creating content alone's not enough. It needs to have some sparkle to it, right?
Yes, it absolutely does. And I think that, quite honestly, it's pretty simple. The reason that it has to be remarkable, I've got some stats. We all love stats.
We love stats.
And it's pretty simple when you look at this. 4 million blog posts were published yesterday. Okay, 4 million. All right.
Nice.
So that's a huge number, and obviously that means that 4 million blog posts are going to probably be published again today. So, when we start looking at these numbers and we're thinking 4 million posts every single day, add it up, do the math. That's 120 million blog posts that are published on the internet every single month. The number is so incredibly huge. You just have to be looking at it from this angle and understand that, if I'm creating a blog post today and I'm not doing anything to stand out, I'm not doing anything to make that better than the next guy, it doesn't do you any good. You're basically like the other 3.5 to 3.8, 3.9 million people that just hit the publish button.
Sure.
And, it's just, you really need to look at the amount of content that's being published and put more than, 20 minutes, 30 minutes into that and really dive deeper. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the best practices on what you can do here in a little bit. But video, that's another big one, right? Yep. So YouTube. If you haven't published anything on YouTube today, I'd be surprised because there's estimated that 300 hours of video is uploaded to YouTube every single minute. All right. That's 5.5 billion videos that are viewed every day. And if you think about, everybody's got an iPhone or some type of device that, captures video now. Everybody, they're walking around and that's all you see. You turn, to the left and to the right when you're driving down the road and, people are looking at their phones. Video is just becoming extremely popular. And, if there is that amount of video that's being uploaded every single minute, you really need to step back and say, okay, what can I do to make myself different than everybody else? Now, Ken, do me a favor and why don't you say the words remarkable content?
Remarkable content.
All right. So that took a little bit longer than I thought it would, but in the time that it took you to say remarkable content, there were over 10,000 tweets sent on the Twitter. Okay. On the Twitter. every single second there's 6,000 tweets sent.
That is
those
amazing.
numbers are, I mean, so start thinking about this. We're talking about 10,000 tweets sent in the time that it took you to say that. And we've got, 300 hours of video being uploaded every single second. And we've got 4 million blog posts published every single day. So really what it boils down to for me, for everybody, is there's just a heck of a lot of content that's being published every single day. And, I can't stress enough that, you need to figure out ways to, for what you're publishing, it has to stand out. It has to be different. And you've got to separate yourself from the rest of the crowd. So I think what it boils down to, how do you cut through all these lines? How do you get your content seen in this, overwhelming sea of content that's flooding the internet every single day? In my opinion, it's simple. You have to make it remarkable, and we're going to discuss some of the best practices in order to do so. So let's dive into that. Why don't we talk a little bit about what is remarkable content?
Yeah, without a doubt, the content, it must be in remarkable, and everyone's scratching their head like, okay, great, guys, cut to the chase. What is it? It's content that's second to none. It's rivaled by none.
It needs. You talked a little bit about this before. It needs to be written for a specific audience. You have to be writing for your buyer personas. You touched on this a little bit. As opposed to just creating information on products and everything, you need to connect with these buyers. You have to give them additional value. They have to feel that value. I've got a example of this paver company that I was interested in doing a new patio. Okay. They took a little bit different approach to it. Like I didn't know where to start with this whole patio thing, right? So
sure.
All I knew was that I wanted to install patio pavers in my backyard and make it look pretty sweet, right?
You wanted to do this yourself or hire them to do it?
I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't know at all, right. And to be honest, I mean, all that I knew was that, I had an end result that I wanted to get to, but I didn't know how to get there. Okay. So sure. Instead of, I hopped online and I started doing a little bit of research, and I ended up on this website that had, it had a how-to guide on creating your patio. Okay. So this guide, it was extremely detailed. It helped me understand the process from A to Z on exactly what needed to be done. And it made me, quite honestly, going through this guide, it made me realize that, one, I don't have the time to do this. And two, my patio is not going to look anything like the end result on this little how-to guide. It's going to probably be horrible. And you're not going to want to come and sit on my patio paver deck.
Okay.
So anyhow, long story short, all right, the how-to guide, it spoke directly to me. All right. And it eventually made me become a customer. It made me hire this company to come out and install these pavers for me. And it wasn't, the difference is, writing for your buyer persona. Okay. Writing for the person that's interested in purchasing these pavers. What they did differently, they had some educational material on their website that attracted me to their website in order for me to become a buyer. They didn't just post, these pretty pictures of these pavers on their website and, this is where you can buy them. That's the biggest difference. That's writing for a specific audience, instead of this broad range of people that you're going to connect with. So that's just a little bit of an example on, something that was beneficial for me that I thought that this company did an excellent job with.
Sure. So you were a buyer persona. I think so they were targeting you as the person, the do-it-yourselfer.
The do-it-yourselfer, yeah.
And this guide really kind of, I'll say, scared you into hiring them, but
I don't think
equipped you with all the pitfalls that you might encounter.
Right.
If you did do it yourself.
Right.
And like many products and services we buy, oftentimes there is a trade-off between doing it yourself or hiring a professional to do it, depending on what that might be, be it maybe swapping out the swing on your child's swing set or brain surgery. There's certain ones I think that you'll probably say, I'll do that myself, or I'll hire the brain surgeon, right? So this particular, so they wrote it for they created this particular piece for you, the buyer persona, being the I can do this myself man, homeowner.
I think that there were some pictures in there of this giant semi dropping off pallets of pavers. And I think that was one of the things that kind of pointed me in the direction, because I'm going, how the hell am I going to get all these pavers and these pallets into my backyard? And then I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, well, wait a minute. You're either going to carry these or you are going to wheelbarrow these things back there. And I just didn't.
Neither sounded fun, right?
Neither sounded fun. I like my back. So
yeah.
Yeah,
coming from someone that did some paperwork back in the college days too, doing that for long periods of time, really, if you're not used to it, you will definitely you'll feel like an old man, not only in your back but every other muscle in your body. So, all you landscape contractors out there, many props to the abuse.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Good stuff.
All right, great. So what's next on the plate for what remarkable content is? What else do we
All right, so we just got to make sure that it's well researched. Hop on Google, hop on whatever your favorite search engine is, and type in the terms, type in the things that you think that people are typing in to show up for you to show up for them, right? And just see what your competition is doing. Go out there and see, if a blog shows up, and take a look at the blog, really dive into it, look at the comments that people are leaving on there, see if they're leaving questions about anything that's not being answered,
That's a big opportunity that you just pointed out there,
right?
Is the comments section. I think it often gets overlooked because you find a blog post that's well written. You're kind of like, oh, this is fantastic.
This is good.
But look down in the comments. Yeah, fish out and find out.
What am I missing? Right?
Yeah, what is the actual audience that found this blog post? What are they saying, or what are they asking additionally that they didn't understand? That's an opportunity.
Yep. That's a huge opportunity. You've got a content piece right there, just waiting for you.
Absolutely.
Make sure it's unique. Again, I mean, head over to, I can't stress research and, just making, going and seeing what other people are doing. Your content, it needs to knock the socks off of, anybody that's reading it. They have to see the value in it, and, really just making sure that, you're not creating something that somebody else already has out there. Right. Take your time, go through, and it's pretty easy to come up with a cool topic or something along those lines by doing that research. And okay, this isn't there yet, so I've got an idea right here that I can be working off of. Right.
Absolutely.
All right. Make sure that it tells a compelling story. Right.
Yeah, storytelling's big. I mean, it needs, we can serve up, we served up some statistics. I remember stats, but a story,
it's going to stand out.
It sticks with you, right?
Right. I think all the time sitting around the table when grandma starts telling a story, right?
Sure. Oh yeah.
And everybody all of a sudden, it's weird because, like, if I'm telling a story at the table, maybe you get like 2 or 3 people that are actually listening. Grandma tells a story at the table, and it's like, all right, everybody shut up, turn over, look at grandma because she's talking now and she's got something cool to say.
And they're better storytellers than we are. Right?
They're so obviously, right? Yes. Nobody listens to me. So, I don't know what it is, but whenever grandma dives into a story from her childhood, it just seems like everybody is so involved and everybody is so interested, and she dives in and there's all these details, and it just makes you kind of feel like you experience that yourself. Sure. So just make sure that you're telling a story, and it's going to stand out from the rest of the 3.95 million people that just posted something on the internet today.
Well, I think that the one word that's key there you made mention of is the word details. And I think that's what separates a story from a great story is can you place yourself while reading into this this particular position, this instance, the point that the content is trying to make. And the details are what really goes above and beyond. And so I think all great storytellers go into details that most others don't, thinking that maybe it's, well, that's too much. That's, we don't need to get that carried away. And not everyone's going to be, some people are open for content. They're going to scan it, look for highlighted points too, and determine in 10 seconds if they're going to read your post anyhow. So you might as well have the details there so that when they do dive in, if they do, and when they do, that
they're going to recall that.
Yeah, you're going to just be some stickiness because how many blog posts have you truly read that you're like, oh man, you have to read this post, that I read the other day. It talked about X, Y, Z. A lot of times it's like this post talked about this generic topic and I found it good, but I can't remember who wrote it and exactly what the specific point they were making. I just remember it was about business and it covered 5 points. So that being said, the details and having a story that's going to provide some stickiness. Yeah. It's all in the details, right?
All in the details, and which leads into making it shareable. You just said, it gave a good example of, if you've got all those details in there, you're going to talk about it. You're going to tell somebody else about it.
Absolutely.
So make that copy shareable. You know that you've created a killer piece of content when you see people start sharing it and you start seeing, over and over again, people are talking about, people are commenting about it. It's just got to, if you have all those details in there, you're going to separate yourself and people are going to start sharing your content. And there's really nothing better than seeing, a blog post that you just published and, all of a sudden there's a bunch of little likes on there, or there's, 15 people have already shared it. You know that you did your job, right?
Absolutely. And to top off that, not only knowing that people are sharing your content with their audiences, the nice thing about that is that often leads to people linking to your content, which has tremendous SEO value, doesn't it?
A lot of weight there. We like it when we get our inbound links, right?
Absolutely. So just the going the route of creating this remarkable content targeted at your buyer persona that, it's so good it's shareable. You now have received the byproduct of good SEO, right? Or SEO is a good byproduct.
Yes, you have. There's nothing better than getting those inbound links, and taking that to the next level is, that you've created content that it's so incredibly good that your competitor is going to pick it up and go, damn, this is so freaking good. I wish that, I would have come up with it. I wish that I would have taken the time to come up with something along these lines. And, they're going to be discouraged. They're going to, they're not even going to want to try to create that content anymore because, you've already done it. You've taken this, you've molded it, you've put it into, this piece that everybody's sharing. You're getting your inbound links and stuff along those lines. They're not even going to want to try to create a piece of copy that's as good. No. And, I think that ultimately, that is really the true meaning of, a 10X content piece, a 10X content creation that, once your competitor looks at it and goes, shit, I can't do anything about this. You did a good job.
Exactly. You showed up with a stick so big, they're not even going to fight you.
Right. So that's it in a nutshell. So why don't we jump into how to start going about creating remarkable content and just best practices and whatnot, and where do we go for step one, I guess?
Yeah, so now we have everyone excited about creating content and then taking it to the next level because we
getting
need
people excited. That's key, right?
That's right, exactly. and getting them to want to.
I want to go create content.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And make it remarkable. So let's talk about how do you create remarkable content. Got some items here. First and foremost, if you haven't yet created your buyer personas,
do it.
Stop right now. Hit the pause button.
Yeah.
Go create your buyer personas. We have that buyer persona template. We'll include that link in the show notes for this episode too for you. But go ahead and I'm not going to dive super deep into buyer personas. We cover that in another episode. Check that one out if you're not entirely sure.
You know what? If you're not sure about how to write your buyer personas, contact us and we'll help you do it.
Yeah, I like that because it's so important. It's so key to everything we're talking about.
It's number one. That's it.
Yeah, go to the neongoldfish.com website. Find one of the different ways that you can connect with us, and we will help you with getting you going and creating these buyer personas, because there's nothing that you should be doing without them being your focal point.
Correct.
So now we're past that. We've identified who our buyer personas are. We want to focus on the type of content that our buyer personas like to consume. For the sake of this exercise and what we're going to go through, we're going to say that our buyer persona that we're focused on, they like blog posts that include lots of images.
Cool.
Very visual. Maybe it's they're into travel or something along those lines, or a very visual type. Ooh, foodies.
Foodies.
Yes.
They like barbecue pictures. I don't like barbecue pictures.
Yes. Justin and I share a love for barbecue and smoking meats.
Hey, look what I just ate last night. I don't know why, but it's just it's fun to see what other people are eating, I guess.
I have more pictures of your barbecue than I do of your family, I think.
Okay, that's pretty
weird.
Sad.
Yeah, it is pretty weird, but hey.
I was proud of that brisket, damn it.
Well, you should be. I'm sure it was a tasty treat. The question is, did you share it with anyone?
I did. Everybody had some. So anyhow.
Awesome. So now that we've identified what type of content we're going to create, we're talking about blog posts here. We're going to start our search, our research, and begin. I'm going to say Google, but any of your favorite search engines, and we're going to look for topics that we think the buyer personas would be using to find. So keywords, things along those lines. Find your products and services. And before you go any further, I think that it might make sense to open up an Excel document or some type of spreadsheet that we can use to document the findings we're going to talk about here.
Sure.
All right. So so type in a keyword phrase, anything that you can think of that you want to begin your research with. Brisket. So we type that keyword in, we get our search results. And before you click any of the results on the page, take note of the top ranking results. And what I want you to look at, what I want you to take note of is things like the titles of these pages, the main link that you would click on to get to that actual result, right? What is the title of the page? What is that text below? What is the description of that page? All right. And those are important because they're oftentimes what we read from that search engine results page that decides whether or not we want to invest time into seeing if we want to read this or not, correct? It's the first step in grabbing our attention. Now, obviously, being at the number one position is beneficial, but also having a strong title and description is going to, it's been proven time and time again to increase click-through rate, which also in turn has a impact on your position as well. So take note of those and, make a column for title, make a column for description. Because what we really want to do is we want to try to identify commonalities or areas of opportunity when we determine which, ideally, overall, where we find our main opportunity for creating a piece of content.
What about images and infographics, stuff along those lines?
Yeah. So when we click through the pages, make note of what it is that you see. When you get onto the page, what is that? What is your first instinct? Now, if our buyer persona is someone who likes the visuals of imagery, are the top results being served up image heavy? Are they really catering to what they're looking for?
Right.
Infographics are fantastic tools. Images are definitely powerful. But make note of the specifics of what you're shooting for, and if those pages possess it. Next, read the text and find out if it's well written. It's amazing how many vanilla blog posts.
You're being nice. You're being really nice.
I know I am, but a lot make it to the top. And there's obviously a lot of factors that go in there. But what I want you to do is give each result on the first page a grade based on how good you think the text actually is. Now, an A would be something that you think is completely kick-ass. Cool. Grabs your attention right from the beginning. It's going to cover the topic from start to finish, has awesome photos, illustrations, graphics. It's going to have the formatting that makes it easy to scan.
Right.
Talking about headlines, subheadlines, bolded lists and bolded words, things along those lines. And it's easy to just read, digest when you dive in. It's just
to get
awesome.
through it, right?
Absolutely. That would be an A.
That's an A. Sweet.
Now you can notch down to B's and C's and D's.
You're going to find those. They're going to be on page 1.
No, they will. And the more that you find, and we'll get to this,
more opportunity, right?
Exactly.
Perfect.
Back to your spreadsheet. Take note on how long the article or blog post is, right? And I'm talking about the number of words. Things that you might want to pay attention to is also... It depends on how detailed you want to get in all this. You could really start paying attention to number of characters in a line or the number of words in the average paragraph.
Right.
Because oftentimes those that are ranking at the top likely have, and you can also look here, I'll touch on this in a second, likely have some additional shares. And by that, they probably have a level of engagement that people find appealing. So yeah. Aesthetically, how is the post set up to make it readable, right?
Right.
All right. So how many pictures or images? Actually count them and make whatever detailed notes you want on them. If they're large images that are cropped, if they're images of that look like they were professionally taken for that particular post, or if they're stock images, which a lot of them are, and that's okay. Sometimes we don't have photographers that we can have follow us along to capture every component of a particular piece of content that we're going to be writing about. So, what keywords are they highlighting on? Do they have them
bolded out or anything along those lines?
Exactly. Yep. And then, as I mentioned once before, does the page have social sharing functionality? A lot of them have the little buttons at the top where you can click on them, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+. You can pin it on Pinterest. Those are things
too, right?
Yes, a lot of them will actually show the number being displayed. There are some online tools you can actually download and use to find out specific details on sites. Google search for looking at some of those will easily help you. But how much the post is actually shared on the various social media platforms as well.
That's helpful.
And then the last item, something you already made mention of, but review the comment section at the bottom and see what questions people are asking. It is just an easy cherry pick of for content that needs to be created that's just been missed, and huge opportunity there.
Huge
All right.
opportunity.
So you've went through, you've done your evaluation, you've assigned all your grades, you've done all your counting.
Yep.
Exactly. Now it's time that you review your findings.
How do I make it better?
Well, exactly. Or what we're really trying to do here is we're trying to identify where
what to do,
where we can win. Yeah, we don't want to walk into our first battle because we're going to be learning as we go along the way and getting better and better.
Sure.
But we don't want to run into a bunch of black belts, right?
Exactly. Stay away.
We
from
want
them.
to. They're
kick
tough.
very high.
They do. So what we want to do is we want to review
stuff.
burping and stuff. We want to review the findings that you just went through. So unless you've chosen a super competitive keyword, chances are you're not going to see all A's on the report card that you just created, right?
Which is good.
So focus on now. Let's just say, for instance, that there's
what if there's like 3 B's on your sheet or a couple C's?
All right. So let's consider, for the sake of our argument here, that they're all B's and C's.
Ooh, all right.
Right? No A's.
No A's. Okay.
And I'm telling you, if you find an A, it should be something that scares you
It's
away.
rock star. You don't want to do it, right?
Or you could say, well, this is from this angle, but I could reapproach it from that angle. Mm-hmm. And so the content that you want to shoot for is that you want to be that A content, and B's and C's are going to be very good.
Yeah.
And so let's just, for the sake of this conversation, state that you have B's and C's.
Okay.
Focus on the best piece of content, though. Focus on the B or the B plus that you are evaluating right there. And so ask yourself some questions. Is this the most complete resource on this topic?
Okay.
Can I first ask yourself, can I create something that's equally as good, just as good as this?
Let's just think, are we trying to just get a little bit better? Or are we trying to make this, 5 times better? Where do we go with that?
It's a great point, because you want to evaluate and find something where you can say, this is very good, but I can make it 10 times better than this.
Yep.
It's that 10x content that you'll eventually stumble across this concept.
Because somebody shared it for you.
Yeah. No, well, Rand Fishkin.
Somebody shared it to you.
Let's put a link into Rand Fishkin's Moz video. I think it's a Whiteboard Friday video on 10x content that I think is fantastic, and it explains the differences of regular content to more remarkable content so very well. It'd be hard to it's 10x
hard
content.
To do anything better.
It's a video, right? I mean, come on, Rand, knocking it out of the park.
Damn it.
But that 10x content that we're talking about, it's equivalent basically to stating to yourself, can I create something that's so damn good that
nobody's gonna
people will read it, they're going to share it, they're going to recognize it's the best piece they've read on this particular topic in a very long time or ever. And then you get that competitor that reads it, and they get that pit in their stomach that you beat them to the punch. And the only thing that they could possibly do at this point is to reword what you've produced, but that they're not going to go that route, because they know for a fact that would just be I don't say lame, but cop out. But they won't even make the attempt, right?
Right.
And if they do, call them out on it, because that's fun too, right?
Run it through Copyscape.
Run it through Copyscape to make sure that you can copy and paste your stuff. All right, so. Now that we've concluded, we've identified an opportunity where we can create 10x, a 10x piece of content.
Yep.
We're going to switch over from research mode to creation mode now.
Creation mode. Sweet.
Now, yes, if you don't feel like you found a sweet spot, if you don't feel like you found an opportunity, a place that you know you can win, then don't go through the entire process of the creation just yet. Go back to the very first step.
Yeah.
Do another keyword search and we need to find an area of opportunity. We need to find a place we know we can win. There's no sense of putting in the time if we feel like we might get our butts kicked by those black belt ninjas, right?
Yep.
We want to go in there and be able to kick some butt.
Find some B's and C's.
That's right. So now it's time to create your content. Truly remarkable content takes time to create. So give it its due. Yeah. It's nothing you're going to knock out in, like you mentioned earlier, 20 minutes. You got a process you need to go through. Yep. And you need to start with spending some time and researching. If you're going to create the most complete 10x version of your topic, likely, and maybe you do have this all up in your noggin and it's just ready to be spilled out on a piece of paper, but you're likely going to require some research. In your research, make sure you cite the areas that should be given credit during your research. So if you do pull a statistic from the, I don't know, Bureau of Labor Statistics or anything else of that nature, make sure that you give them a link and properly cite where you're getting your info from.
Right.
Now, the key here, I think that you should keep in mind is make your content interesting. You want to grab the reader's attention in the very first paragraph and clearly tell them why they should continue reading and the exact benefit they're going to get from doing so.
Sure.
Next, you're going to want to go gangbusters and cover the topic like it's never been covered before. As we mentioned, be a storyteller. Get into the details. One thing I know that helps me out when writing things is I don't do well when I try to create the final piece of copy the first time.
Right.
I like to, I have a 3-step process that I go through, and everyone's like, oh crap, here goes through more steps, right?
He comes
My first
and has grandma write step 1.
Right. The first is just an outline. I just like to do a general outline where it just covers the intro and the main bullet points I want to hit, a conclusion. And then I like to create what I call, not what I call, actually Brene Brown, well-known author. She calls this your shitty first draft, right?
Right. Everybody's got a shitty first draft. It just happens.
Yeah. It's very true. You should, because the thing is if you spend so much time trying to create that final piece, you're going to get lost. Some writers can do it. Most of us can't.
To do it.
Well, just do a brain dump and get everything out there. So if you need to do an outline, I do. I'm one of those that needs an outline for structure just because I need parameters to stay within.
Yep.
But if you do, you don't need that outline. Just get everything you can out on paper. Do your research and just start jamming words out. Then take the steps to make your content interesting, get the reader's attention, cover the topic in detail, get the story piece together with all the nooks and crannies. Yeah. If you have personal stories you can apply,
plug them in there.
Tell them.
Yep.
Statistics, fine, as much as you possibly can. All right. And then find images that can support your story, your article, your text. It can be photographs, it can be illustrations, it can be screenshots from a computer screen. When possible, use images that you've created, photos you took, drawings you made, screenshots of your own work. It goes a long ways.
Yeah.
We don't all have that luxury. So if you can or you need to resort to using stock photos or illustrations, that's fine. It's better to have a stock photo than it is to have no photo at all.
Sure.
You'll see in most of your results, the top positions, even if they're B's and C's, they're going to have photos in them. I'm pretty darn sure that you're not going to run into, unless maybe you hit a Princeton paper, somebody there that's at a .edu that a ton of people are linking to. You're probably going to see quite a few photos. Now, whatever route you go, do yourself a favor. Do not do a Google search and right-click, save as, and use that image in your...
that's bad.
That's bad. In fact,
don't do that. We don't even need to go down that road, but don't do it.
Just don't do it. Make sure you have the rights to use the photography. There's tons of royalty-free
There's a lot of great stock sites out there that, and quite honestly, I mean, you can't even really tell that some of them are stock sites, and they're very, very, very inexpensive.
There's a lot of great photographers contributing to those libraries. And when we're talking inexpensive, we're talking a handful of dollars for
a great
shot.
Photo. Yeah.
So don't chance it. I promise you this much. They're getting better and better at catching the photo snatchers. Photo snatchers. There we go.
Photo snappers.
Yeah, that would be the picture takers, wouldn't it? So,
just don't do it. That's what it boils down to.
Just don't do it. Yep.
All right.
Lastly, format your text. When I mentioned earlier about making it scannable, most people when they visit the page, they're gonna kind of glance through and say, does this page? I read the title, I read the description back on the results page, search engine results page. Now I need to dive in and make sure that this possesses the words that I'm looking for. It's going to address the point that I'm trying to, the question, the itch that I have, right? what is it doing? And the way you do that is you use headlines, you use subheadlines, you use bullet points, you use bolded text.
Break it up.
Break it up. And then where there is supporting or there's opportunities to support other pieces of your work, insert links to your own work within your own website. I mean, we talked about citing external references or resources of things you find, which is powerful. And there is actually some SEO value to that, more so than I think people know. But allow the site visitor to dive deeper into your website.
Right.
It is absolutely paramount. Yep. And then lastly here, when you're creating your content, if you have a call to action, if you have a CTA that's going to lead to a downloadable offer,
put it in there.
Drop it in there.
It. I can't tell you how many blogs that you go through that you find that, you know, you get to the end and you're like, man, I really wish I could go further and learn a little bit more about blank or blank, and there's nothing there.
Or, you know, you don't even have that wish. You don't even have that thought never crosses your mind because you don't even think that there's value-added content available at the end of the rainbow, right?
More. There has to be something else.
So make sure you get the CTAs in there. And then once you're there, publish your content. Get it out there.
You can't leave it in draft status? Come on.
No. Well, I think a lot of people get hung up on
the
enough? Idea. Well, that's just, is it good enough? And anything creative is never going to be good enough. Just know that. If you're painting a picture and you're really trying to strive for perfection, there's a certain point where that picture's as best as it's going to look. All you're going to be doing is tweaking the thing.
Yep.
And if you tweak it too much, your picture of an apple is going to look like an orange and then like a pumpkin before you know it, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, you're more of a designer than I am, Justin. I can operate.
You put together some nice stuff, right?
It's not horrible, but you know as well as I do that there's a point where you just gotta get it out there.
It looks good. Put it out there. You know, quit refining it, and you know, it's just get it out of draft status.
Exactly. So the remarkable level that we're trying to hit, it's going to really come down to how thorough, and if you're telling a good story, it will always have the abilities to be better, folks. So hit that remarkable status and then get it out there and get it live.
You'd be surprised.
You're not etching this in stone either. You can go back and add to and adjust and modify and make it continually better. But it cannot be seen if it sits in draft status in your dashboard. So hit that publish button when you feel it's public ready. And then don't just publish and pray. Okay?
What? You got to promote these things?
Well, that's what we're getting at is, especially in the early days. Now, when you get to a certain point where you have an audience that you've built because you've created so much remarkable content and it's been shared so much, and you're being found by lots of different users or site visitors because of other content you've created, promotion is not as important. But in the early days, it is paramount that you take time to actually promote the content that you just created. No matter how remarkable it is, no one knows about you.
Yeah. So where should you start?
First of all, you can start off by sending an email out to your database and ask that they share it. Post a link on your social media accounts. Each one of these different areas is a different audience. And so put a link out there, make it shareable. Make sure that you have that shareable social share buttons on your post as well. A little side note there. One of the most powerful things I think that you can do is establish relationships with influencers in your industry. Now, there are likely some people that you know in your specific industry that have clout, that you attend conferences. They're the speaker at a lot of these conferences. They've written a book. They're very active in certain forums. Don't be a creep and just go banging on their door saying, hey, read my stuff, right?
Have an angle to it.
Interact with them a little bit. Yes. Have a little bit of a strategy. Be sure that you approach and maybe build some rapport and eventually, ask some questions, answer some questions in the comments of their blogs, retweet the things or make comments on their tweets. If you're at a conference, go talk to them. They're people, and learn about them, and you'll be amazed on how down to earth these influencers are. They're guarded. They know people are trying to piggyback off of their audiences and things along those lines. So if you approach it in a more passive way and not
share this to your 10,000
direct
visitors.
would you mind
Can
posting
you send this email out
on
to
your
your
homepage?
20,000 people you have?
Right. Because their audience is of value to them, and so I think that the more credibility you can build with those influencers, it takes time. It's a long play. Don't go in there thinking that I'm going to create a piece of remarkable content, establish a relationship with an influencer by the end of the week, and my work here is done. There's going to be a lot of work, and you really should be spending as much time on the outreach of your content as you do in the actual creation of the content.
Very
so
good point.
if you've spent 25 hours on creating your content, expect to spend 25 hours on outreach for your content.
You just made something incredible. Be proud of it and go out there and promote it.
Absolutely. Exactly. So if you've truly created a remarkable piece of content and you've spent the time it deserves promoting this content, you're going to start to see people sharing your work with others. And what that's going to lead to is you're going to have an increased exposure. You're going to get backlinks. The next piece of remarkable content you create is going to be so much easier to get out to the masses. And so it is, and you know what the nice thing about all this creating this remarkable content is, unlike paid search campaigns or a TV commercial,
keeps on giving.
It does. It is like the Jelly of the Month Club, Clark, right? But once you stop paying those mediums, the Google AdWords or the ABC TV spots or wherever, they have a shelf life, they have inventory. You buy it, you try to get eyeballs, and poof, it's gone, right?
Forever.
You own this content. So long as you don't torch your website or forget to pay your hosting account and renew your domain, your stuff will live on and on. And while you need to continually play this content game, again, you can't write one piece, get one influencer, and be set for life. You need to continue to play the game. It will get easier, but it will continue to bear fruit for you. One blog post written once will produce monthly visitors for you for time and time again. So, all this is a lot of work. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's well worth it.
It will pay. It's well worth it. It's well worth putting in. And so if we just scared you saying, hey, you're looking at 50 hours for a piece of content, that's going to be a damn good piece of content.
It's going to be a 10x piece of content. Let's face it, so it's not.
But what are you going to get out of that? If you took and you created 50 crap blog posts that took an hour each,
which is what you're doing.
I still think. Well, yeah, I mean, if you likely could be just if you're putting an hour or at the most into a blog post and just cranking out. I mean, they're glorified tweets at that point. So, go ahead and do the measurement. Do 50, single 1 hour effort blog posts, and then do one of these remarkable pieces of content, and then evaluate them and see. You'll gladly say,
do another one of those.
Yeah, my time's better spent on the good, solid piece of content. There's no better story than this than Brian Dean. He's the owner of Backlinko, and
he's got what?
He has 30? A website.
He doesn't have a lot of blogs. I know that, and he's
32 or 36.
He's everywhere for SEO.
Yes. No. He is at the top. Now, Backlinko, his entire business model is he's an SEO expert, and he teaches others how to build backlinks. So this is his expertise. So he should be everywhere SEO. But the fact of the matter is he's doing this with 32 or 36 kick-ass killer blog posts. Resources. Exactly. He has taken the whole idea of remarkable content and taken it to the next 100%. Level. And so if he can do that in such a competitive world, because I don't think there's a more competitive market out there.
Try to rank
than
for SEO,
terms related to SEO. Exactly. If he can do that with
30 posts,
with this many blog posts, then I'm pretty confident, folks, you can crush your market doing the same.
With whatever market you're in. All right. Well, that was a awesome little. What do we have about an hour or so into this so far? I think everybody's got a good understanding of how they should create that content, and exactly what it is to look for, what remarkable content is, and why you need to be creating this remarkable content. I think that's a wrap for today. Just to recap, we have covered why you should create content in the first place, why this content should be remarkable, what makes content remarkable, and then to end everything off is how do we create remarkable content. Again, we are going to have show notes available at www.neongoldfish.com/podcast. I think that Ken had mentioned that we are also going to be dropping the template in for buyer personas there, and that's accessible. And I also want to create some buyer personas for people that are struggling. So we're going to leave that out there. Reach out, and we can help out. So awesome, Ken. Well, until next time, this is Justin and Ken with Neon Noise. It's your turn now. Go out there and create some remarkable 10x content. Take care, guys.